Okay, so I'm gonna here with, I guess, a part two, and hey, it might just keep on going until we get towards the end, where it's like, hey, and I was like, maybe I'm being a dead horse, maybe I'm yelling into a wall, maybe I'm over here scratching at a post of a tree that's in the forest, and you didn't hear it fall, but you always hear a bird shit. Anyway, this whole WrestleMania Night One main event, it's like it's going. I was like, it really, really looks like it's going to be Seth, Roman, CM Punk, unless something happens where like Seth is able to pull something off where it's not the main event or whatever. I still would have liked that they would have tried to do a little bit of something with that story, where they didn't seem like they dropped it really quickly. Whatever. Basically, that or whatever or what it was the women's triple threat for Night One. Now, I wanted to come here and say, for my first video, I said the women should main event. Now, I think they still should. And I wouldn't go necessarily say that the men shouldn't main event. But I'm saying I have changed my mind more of being like obviously ain't shit I can do about it. I'm just over here to talk it. But I am totally basically more so on board of like, hey, they kicked it up in a way that the women failed to do. I mean, the way they failed to do in the creative scheme of basically that. I was like, yeah, I was like, it main event. I still think there's something that needs to be done to solidify it, because I do have a problem that no title, like basically outside of Cody and John Cena, who's doing a hell of a job, is going to main event. All the titles, no. And granted, Charlotte, Tiffany, man, Jay Gunther, man, this was the only one that was really like, it seemed like it was bound to main event, was the women's triple threat. Now, where I think it has dropped the ball, because I was like, I think it was about pretty even from the two. Like, everybody just going basically off the names or whatever. And I was like, or they're just like, they're going to put on a great match. It doesn't matter how to build one. It's like, yeah, you can say that about both matches. They're both going to put on matches that's going to be really good, despite however the build is going to be. But I think with this recent contract signing and things like that, like the brawl, I enjoyed brawl as much as the next person, but I thought that shit was corny and stupid as hell, of them just pointing at the sign, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, can you telegraph that anymore? And also, you stop fighting just to point out. Like, I'm like, that y'all all are mad at each other and fighting, and y'all just want to just get up and point, and it's just like, okay, we get it, you're going to WrestleMania. I was like, all right, but I was like, there's to me also, I do everybody understand that they all want to get their hands on each other, but for what? There's still something here that has to be a for what. That's my thing. Because I was like, if you just gonna have a fight, I don't think that necessarily needs to be main event in that sort of fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, the 3 participants in it, I understand it, the story that's been there of all the years. Because like people who saying there's no story, I was like, I wasn't here for the whole Shield thing at the very beginning and the CM Punk or like 400 something days that he had the championship. I wasn't here for that, but I was like, by the time but I knew who CM Punk was and stuff like that way beforehand. And I was like, I did get to see a little bit of Shield a little bit afterwards, and then I got caught up or whatever. So I understand. I was able to get that. I was like, I understand the story. It's not that difficult or whatever. Also, I didn't think you needed a story really with these three either. They just don't like each other or whatever. When it wrestling, I was like, wrestling doesn't have to be that complicated all the time either. But I think I was like, but the contract signing, because of how well they are at like playing off of each other and stuff like that. I think that did build the extra intensity in a way that we don't need the brawls necessarily with them. We already been seeing that they've been fighting like crazy. But I think it has been a different intensity because the women's, it's been a cluster fuck, but not in a good way. Like it's like okay, cool. When they was first shunning out EO and all that other stuff, pushing her and whatnot, she slapped him. Cool, I get it. But now it's just kind of just like, and don't get me wrong, they sort of made the wonk finish a way that's like, cool, Rhea's sort of going to get in. But when I said that it should main event, I was also going on the premise that I think that it doesn't make sense It's going to be messy, but they should have it emulate Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky. That didn't make sense. It was a lot. It was confusing. It was crazy. But it also worked its way up to being like, yeah, but this is kind of fun as hell. Because the thing is that when you seen them all just brawling and fighting the whole time, to the point they had to get handcuffed and they still was fighting each other through the cop car, breaking windows and stuff like that. Their intensity level was so high that you were like, and I was like, granted they had 2 nights, guess what? It would have been on one night and Kofi Mania would have been on the other night. But whatever. Here, I was like, they've been going at each other, but it hasn't had what it needed in order to say, yeah. Like they haven't had, I feel like they've been fighting each other, but it hasn't been like the brawl that you've seen with the men's situation. And I was like, that's what you need. Cause like I said, you don't need to know the story for Punk, Roman, and Seth. What they just been doing, and I was like, and to be honest, and the thing is, you're really blending a lot of stuff in because you have Seth and Punk here, and you have Roman and Seth over here. Punk and Roman ain't really really coming to head like that, to be honest. So it's like you're really meshing Seth's anger at both parties to make this whole thing combust. And CM Punk, he ready to go all the time. He don't care. I was like, and Seth, he's like, yo, I die over this. And Roman is just like, I ain't got to do nothing of this. I'm better than all of y'all. But you touch me, there's problems. And that's how they're sort of dealing with it. The women, I think I was like, I will say that I was like, no. I was like, I have lost steam of trying to propel them to basically be in that top spot because they haven't brought what they needed. And I was like, yes, it might be a little bit uncreative, but I feel like at the same time that you should easily be able to be like, look what they doing over there. We should just be fighting over here. But you're not going to get that from like Rhea and Bianca. I think you get that from them way more than you do from EO. And that's where this sort of is, because like while they are the 3 top women stars, I was like, do you have an EO doing something like that? Like, like, hey, I could be talking all this, and next week EO come out and swing a chair on both of their asses. Then all of a sudden I might be like, okay, cool, we getting somewhere, because it's still about 3 weeks to a month left, and I was like, you still got enough time to do stuff. But y'all need to kick it in gear, and I just don't think that it's going to kick it in gear enough. While I think that the men will just, like, I think even if they sort of bit and pieces, because Roman might not show up necessarily like that I think they could just plateau and it still will be good enough to sail to basically the main event. Now, if CM Punk comes out and he got like a favor where it's like, I win, I'm in the match with Cena and Rose. I don't think they would do that just because Rose and Cena are hot right now. Don't get me wrong, that would make that thing hotter. But I was like, that'd be a lot. I was like, don't get me wrong, you could still do it. You could have Punk come out there and Cody and handle that thing on Friday, and then on Monday, I was like, you could have Punk come out and be like, oh, I got both of y'all here. Is it not a good day? Or whatever like that. And then Seth got motivation now of being like, hey, I'm going to stop you from getting into that triple threat match. Roman is just kind of like, yo, why my wise man ain't set this up for me? I was like, so that's why I said, I was like, the men's can still do stuff or not, and they still get to the main event. Whereas like the women, I was like, they would have to really ramp this thing up. And that's why I was like, while I'm making this second video saying, I don't think I could. I was like, I can't really. It's hard to back them getting the main event spot. They have the title, and if my justification is only because they have the title, then I was like, I really am going to start losing that argument or whatever. Like, while I think that is important, then that could just be the sort of the case. I guess you could also say with Charlotte and Tiffany or Jay and Gunther as well too. Like, they got the title and they're sort of in a so they got to bring more heat. They want to have a shot at this. And I was like, not a realistic shot. I think the mind's already been made up. But I was like, a shot where it's like, where people come out of WrestleMania and they can say, "Oh, that did deserve to go last," or it's like, "Man, the women's put on a banger." I was like, the women's should have like main event. That's what I'm talking about. Because we always look back on these WrestleManias fondly, and we always think about like, "Oh, that should have closed out." Or this was really the match of the night, or whatever like that. So I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like they can still be in that conversation. But anyway, let me know what you think or whatever. Is where you just settled on the 3 men fighting? Do you think the women should have a shot at being in the main event? You think they lost steam? Do you think there was no steam? You get what I'm saying? Anyway, till then, peace. I'm out.